can wash that out of our mouths with what was my match of the round, which was Western Bulldogs defeating the Port Adelaide Power in a huge statement from the Western Bulldogs, because what they were able to do, they were spending a little bit of questions recently, ever since they took their first loss, so how legit they are. Looks like Port Adelaide was proving to be a really good team, and possibly they still have a chance of finishing first like they did last season. But it's taking a little bit of a hit here. What happened though is that the Western Bulldogs, they thrive on offense, and this is typically a really well built and well played defense from Port Adelaide, and they weren't able to do much of anything against this Bulldogs team. And what I have to ask you, Donnie, is with this game, is this win more indicative of how good the Bulldogs are, or is this loss more indicative of maybe a questionable Port Adelaide team?
I really think this is almost, and I hate to stand the fence on this one. This really is kind of half and half.
Mm-hmm.
I think this really showed how good the Western Bulldogs midfield is, that they can go against probably one of the few teams that can match them talent for talent at most of the spots on the ground.
Mm-hmm.
And the Bulldogs dominated at times in this game on the road, which is even more impressive too, because the Adelaide Oval is never easy to go to and win against Port.
No.
And I think a little bit is this is a Port team that the questions are starting to be asked, because when they've faced the top eight teams,
Mm-hmm.
they've only won once. I mean, they just got smacked down by Brisbane. They got smacked down by the West Coast Eagles, and now they've gotten smacked down by the Western Bulldogs. They've only won one top eight game, and that was against Richmond
Yep.
earlier in the year. And Richmond's still there's still the jury's still out on Richmond whether they're the team that we think they're going to be. So, I mean, I've heard this comment says they've started to call them flat track bullies, which a little bit what West Coast was getting called there for a bit when it came to on at home they're one team, on the road they're different.
Mm-hmm.
I also say this, there are a few injuries again. I'm Injuries are an excuse. I know, coach. I know. But they are missing their number one ruck. They're missing two really good young midfielders on this team that I think will make an impact. I think this poor team again. This is only 9 games into the season. I think we're really jumping the shark a little bit on just these jump to conclusions that I think are a little premature. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
I think there's still a lot of games still to be played. This Western Bulldogs team is one of the best teams in the league. I think they're going to be top four. Melbourne and the Western Bulldogs will be two of the top four. The other two were the only two that I see up for grabs,
Mm-hmm.
because I just don't see Melbourne and the Western Bulldogs falling out of those top four spots. I just don't see it. It's where Port falls in the eight is the question. I think they're still a finals team because they're going to beat the lower teams. They're not going to have this loss to a lower
Yeah.
team that some of these eight teams have had.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not really worried about that. It's can they step up, and when Port plays Sydney later on in the year, when Port plays Geelong, will they get those wins? Because if they do, then the narrative changes a little bit. We'll have to see. Right now, it's not looking good for Port. There are a ton of questions. Port's lost some of these games that they really can't afford to lose. They've
Mm-hmm.
got to win these games if they want to be in that top four, get the double chance, and have a chance to win a grand final this year. Because if they're in the bottom four, it's a lot harder, because you may have to win. You'll have to almost win one more game of footy to win the grand final.